Chapter 10. Icy water blasted my face, popping my eyes open. I gasped from the freezing assault. Sputtering and wiping my face with my hands, I noticed the rope binding was off. I was free to move around. Dagor was still next to me on the floor, unconscious. I scrambled to distance myself.
I'm glad to see you're awake.
Sergio said. My eyes flashed. He was still holding the pitcher that had sent water splashing down on me. There was something different about him. His goofy puppy look was gone. Instead, he was serious and dark. His eyes betrayed nothing that could give me a clue about his presence, or whether he was going to help me or lead me into further danger. You led me into a blind alley for Dagor, I growled.
Come with me, or stay and die. Dagor's waking up. He won't be happy when he does.
I'll leave, but not with you.
I'll make sure you're safe.
You did a fine job of that. Are you going to handcuff me to your moped if I don't do what you say? I argued. His presence irritated me more than anything else. I was fine on my own without his help, if that's what you could call it. He was false with a cotton candy coating. And why didn't he have an accent anymore? He cracked a brief smile, making me stop for a moment. It was an unexpected smile.
As much as I'd love to cuff you to my ridiculous moped, it wouldn't be for the purpose of escorting you.
His eyes danced with mischievousness. My eyes widened, and my pulse skipped a few beats. What happened to silly, annoying Sergio? Somehow Sergio became enthralling and scary all at the same time. It didn't seem right. It didn't make sense to see two completely different men in the same body. His presence now caused me to be tongue-tied and awkward. I'm leaving, I said, making it clear I was going alone. He clutched my wrist. A sting from his touch made me wince. Wrenching my hand from Sergio's grip, I saw my wrists were red and raw. He inspected my wrists.
I can fix you up at my place. If we stay here much longer, I'll have to protect you from Dagor, and that won't be easy.
I followed Sergio out the door. I wanted to distance myself as far away from Dagor as possible. I'd deal with Sergio later. I didn't know if my senses were numbed by my encounter with Dagor, but Sergio, while different and a little menacing, was not nearly as frightening as Dagor. Not that I need your protection, but why wouldn't it be easy to protect me? Are you afraid of Dagor? We were outside the apartment in a darkly lit hallway. An old staircase wound down 4 floors. I followed Sergio downstairs at a brisk pace.
I'll explain everything when we get to my place.
We were nearly at the bottom of the stairs when I remembered the bomb. I punched him in the back of the head. It didn't do much. It only produced a quizzical look. I massaged the tenderness away from my throbbing hand.
Ow.
Sergio said, rubbing the back of his head.
What was that for?
Where's the bomb?
There's no bomb. I don't work for Dagor. Well, not really. It's complicated.
A violent voice boomed from above us.
I'll kill her.
My heart stopped, and my eyes widened. We fled down the last couple of stairs, bursting through the front door. I ran with Sergio until we reached a black truck. I clambered into the passenger's side while Sergio swung into the driver's seat and revved the engine. I watched the building door as he floored the gas, sending us speeding down the road. When I lost sight of the door and didn't see Dagor barreling after us, I turned to Sergio. He was the same hair, same clothes. It was his personality that changed, which made his whole aura change. This was going to take some getting used to, but I didn't intend to be around him too much longer. I had to stick to business. He didn't seem to be loyal to Dagor, but I didn't want to be caught blindsided either. Do you want the trophy now, or will you pick it up later? I asked, knowing I may as well finalize the business transaction. The trophy in exchange for my freedom. His face didn't change. No muscle even twitched.
I think it's safer where it is.
You know where it is?
I've always known.
Then why didn't you take it?
I couldn't take it. Daegor would have wanted it.
You'd rather he killed me for it instead? My patience was slipping. My head hurt. My hands and wrists were covered with bruises and sores. And truthfully, I never had patience.
No one is going to kill you.
Could you tell that to Daegor?
Daegor won't leave you alone. An insane vendetta is festering inside him. It's either his death or yours.
My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My heart had suspected as much. I never wanted to believe something so dark and horrible. His death or mine. My fate in a nutshell. I did beat him to a pulp, but I could never kill someone. His death or my death wasn't an option. Maybe I could move far away. Like to France. I do like French food. French fries, French bread, French toast. Oh, and my favorite, French onion soup. They have casinos there too. I could easily make money and eat my way to bliss. As I was forming my brilliant plan, Sergio's phone rang.
Yes,
He asked.
I'll be there. I have a tag-along.
I watched his face, but it didn't betray who he was talking to. The only thing his face told me was that I had no idea who this man was. I surmised Sergio must have a twin and I was in the truck with him.
Don't worry about it. I'll be there soon.
He said, ending the call. He noticed that he was under my watchful surveillance. A smile crept to the side of his mouth, and he gave me a small wink. If Sergio 1.0 had given me that wink, I would have broken out with instant willies, but Sergio 2.0 was able to pull it off with a fluttering butterfly effect. This wasn't right. "What's with you?" I asked, irked by his new personality. Sergio 1.0 was harmless and goofy. Sergio 2.0 was unnerving.
I had to follow you around like a puppy and act like a love-starved fan.
I'm glad you're not a fan. It was embarrassing.
But I am a fan. I saw your hysterical YouTube footage.
He said, adding.
No offense.
I glared at him. No offense taken.
After watching the video, I wanted to know more about the woman who made me laugh so hard my stomach hurt.
I tapped my foot. I hated reliving that single hideous moment over and over. I'm glad his stomach hurt. Serves him right. He didn't notice my irritation.
I searched for you on the internet. You're a steady professional poker player who moved from Colorado to Las Vegas. Your parents are still in Colorado. Your senior picture was adorable with your angled haircut that flared out and the big zit on your forehead.
Frankie didn't put that picture on the website, did he?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure where I found that information.
I sighed with relief. I didn't like my picture floating in cyberspace, but at least Frankie didn't have it. I'd never hear the end of it. It's a horrendous picture with a zit that could rival mountains. Sergio turned into a parking complex. "Where are we?" I asked as Sergio swung into a parking spot and killed the engine. I hadn't been keeping track of where we were going. So much for my self-preservation skills. I couldn't forget he led me into a blind alley for Daegor to catch me. Bastard. I punched him in the arm, wincing in pain as the punch connected. His arm was solid and my hand was bruised.
What was that for?
He asked, not having the decency to rub away any pain I might have caused. For leading me into the blind alley for Daegor to catch me.
I was going to come back for you. I just didn't think it would take me so long.
He nearly killed me. Sergio smiled.
I think you won that round hands down.
A grin bubbled up. I didn't like to think I'd almost killed someone, but with Daegor, it truly was him or me, and Sergio's praise made me happy in an odd way. Daegor said the plane should have gone down. He smirked.
I told him that. It's not true. My uncle may smell, but he's an excellent pilot and doesn't have a death wish. We have to go. We're late.
Late for what? I asked as I climbed out of the truck and followed him to a set of elevators. He pressed the elevator call button.
You don't have a clue, do you?
No, I've never been here before. I eyed him suspiciously. Maybe he was tricking me into believing he was a good guy who just happened to work for Daegor. This whole scenario didn't make any sense. Why are there so many people after the trophy? I knew for sure that Daegor was a bad guy, but what about the rest of the people? There was Sergio, David, and the French guy. Maybe he wasn't even French. Everyone keeps adjusting their accents willy-nilly. David and Daegor were working for a third party, so there were definitely more people involved. It was making my head swim. "Are you taking me hostage?" I asked as the elevator door slid open. I didn't move forward into the elevator. Sergio chuckled.
Only if you let me.
My eyes widened, giving him ammunition to laugh.
Come on, Nadia.
He said, still amused. Sergio ushered me into the elevator before I could protest. As the door slid shut, I realized I was in a confined space with Sergio. I edged over to the wall farthest away from him. He pressed number 6 and turned to me.
You're not afraid of me, are you?
He asked. I don't know who you are or what your motives are. Right now, you're not my friend. He nodded. His face was solemn. The elevator bell chimed, and the door slid open to reveal a hallway with a door at the end. He motioned for me to follow. I took one step, but was about to step back and push the close button when I heard music and laughter. The door at the end of the hallway flung open, and Maya, in all her energetic glory, burst from the room and raced down the hallway.
It's about time you got here.
Her blonde curls bounced. She latched on and dragged me to the door.
Everyone is here and waiting for you. What took you so long?
There was a bit of a delay.
Sergio explained, but Maya was already off on another subject.
You should have dressed up a little more.
She scolded me.
Is that blood on you? You're such a tomboy sometimes. It's okay because I have the perfect outfit for you. You can change into it as soon as you make your appearance.
She bounced into the room with me in tow.
She's finally here.
I heard a round of applause and looked around to find myself in a large flat with 80 or so people staring back at me with smiles on their faces. I didn't recognize half of them, but it was heartwarming to see. A little nerve-wracking, too. The room was sparsely furnished, which made it spacious despite all the guests. Folding chairs and tables were set around in strategic areas. The hardwood floors were rustic old planks. Twinkling light strands were strung on the ceiling so the room sparkled as if 1,000 stars descended to earth. It was Maya's doing, I was sure. The lights illuminated a banner that read, "Nadia keeps losing. Her spirit is bruising. Don't be smug. Just give her a hug." The room was simple and beautiful, except for the banner. Roy and Gloria smiled and waved. Frankie stood next to Muffin. His arms were crossed and his eyes were pinched together as he glared at Muffin. She'd found her happiness at the food buffet and was fending off any guests who might be hungry. Remy loomed in the corner like he was on duty and ready to assault anyone who stepped out of line. Danny, Frankie's other chapel employee, stood next to him, snapping her bright green bubble gum that matched her green hair. Remy didn't seem to approve of her. His eyes scanned her in puzzlement and then quickly went back to the rest of the room. Lenny scoped the room for his next paycheck. My eyes darted around the room until they rested on their target. 2 targets, actually. Caleb and Grayson were standing together in a mix of women I didn't know. They were corralled into the middle to make them easier prey. They both smiled at me and were about to come over when arms flew out from the swarm of women, keeping them captive. I sighed. It was hard not to be jealous, but it was so common for women to fawn over Caleb and Grayson that I'd be in a constant state of jealousy. I guess eventually I should let them go. Not that they were mine to begin with, but neither were good for me or around for the long haul. But not now. Not with this silly Nadia revival celebration. Perhaps I did need a little revival to raise my spirits. I hadn't deemed they were down, but while observing so many happy people, I realized my happy meter wasn't quite up to par. I needed to change. I guess many things needed to change. Sergio was next to me. His hand rested on my shoulder.
Let me show you the bathroom. You can clean up.
I followed him down a hallway where a few people mingled and smiled as we passed. Is this your place? I asked Sergio.
Yes, for now.
He opened a door that led to a bathroom.
I wanted to make sure Dagor didn't find the party. He doesn't know where I live.
There wasn't anything fancy or unique about the bathroom, just a regular bathroom that had everything I needed to clean myself. Maya's chosen outfit hung on a hook. Does anyone else know why the party was changed?
Only Grayson and Remy. It was nearly impossible to change Maya's mind about having the party at her house. I let Grayson know about Dagor's plan, and he was helpful in making the change.
His dark eyes studied mine.
I didn't tell him anything else. Just that Dagor was planning on crashing the party.
I nodded. That was my cue to keep quiet about Sergio and the trophy. I wasn't sure if I was going to stay completely quiet. For right now, there was no need to say anything to anyone. Why did Dagor say you were known as the Terminator? I asked. It was a lingering question that had bothered me ever since Dagor had mentioned it. Sergio was surprised at the question. His silly grin returned and grew on his lips.
Dagor said that?
Sergio gave a small laugh.
Someone must have told him. Friends call me by that nickname, but it's not like it sounds. I'm a huge fan of the Terminator movies. I was hooked as soon as I saw the first one.
I rolled my eyes and shoved him out of the bathroom and shut the door. I could hear him chuckle as he retreated down the hallway. I peeked into a narrow cupboard by the sink and retrieved a washcloth. The washcloth was new and fluffy. I soaked it in running warm water, letting it squish in my hands until it was the perfect temperature. Pressing the washcloth to my face, I let out a deep sigh. How did I manage to end up in these predicaments? And how will I survive if Dagor finds me again? It was something to worry about after the party. I forced a smile on my face. Tonight, I'd have to please Maya. Tomorrow, I'll figure out a plan that doesn't involve killing or being killed. And it would hopefully involve getting rid of the trophy, so I didn't have to worry about anyone stealing it or killing me for it. I don't care why so many people want it. I just don't want it. I guess that's easier said since I don't know why it's sought after. If I was told it held a virus that would kill all mankind, I'd be a little more apt to destroy it and move to Antarctica. I scrubbed the blood from my skin. I'd have to shower when I got home. Otherwise, I'd have nightmares about bits of Dagor still on me. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I struggled into Maya's outfit. I didn't dare look in the mirror. With Maya's taste in clothes, I was hoping I wouldn't scare the guests with excessive amounts of glowing white skin that the mini skirt and tight shirt didn't cover. I attempted to fasten all the buttons on the shirt, but I couldn't close the top two nor the bottom one. I heard a knock on the door and a giggle. Maya.
Nadia, are you ready yet?
I swung open the bathroom door. I had thought to scold her, but her mouth was turned in a massive smile. Her eyes sparkled with animation. It was puppy dog infectiousness. Maya could end world wars just by showing up and smiling. I couldn't help but smile back. I'm done, I said, tugging on my shirt. Maya bounced up and down.
I knew the outfit would fit perfectly.
I hate to break it to you, but I can't fasten the buttons.
I know. That's why it's perfect. I'm finding you a man tonight, and this outfit will attract them. But your hair is rather a mess. Flip your hair a couple of times.
I did as she asked. I didn't want to waltz into the party with both tight clothes and messy hair. The two together would have tagged me in the workin' hose department.
That's better,
Maya said.
I think my work is done. The guys will be chasing you.
I thought this was supposed to be a revival party, not a boy chase girl party.
It can be both.
What about Grayson? Wasn't I supposed to marry him and become your sister-in-law? I asked. She had admitted that to me a while back, and it struck me as endearing. A sly smile made me narrow my eyes. She was up to something.
You will be my sister-in-law,
She said matter-of-factly. Why do I need all the men chasing me? Wouldn't I just need Grayson chasing me?
Men want what other men want or have. It's really simple. Attract lots of guys and make them want you. The one you want will be right behind them.
Could it really be so simplistic? Maya nodded. Her excited eyes shimmered.
You'll see.
She said, leading me from the bathroom and down the hall toward the party. I was hoping to slip into the crowd unnoticed, but leave it to Maya to announce my arrival for the second time. She nodded to Remy, who whistled sharply. It produced an immediate head turn in our direction.
You all know why we are here tonight.
Maya said in a loud, perky voice.
This is Nadia's revival party. She needs us to be here tonight to give her encouragement and support. Her life has been like gum on the bottom of a shoe lately.
Danny snapped her gum in agreement. Maya nodded.
Exactly.
I tugged on Maya's shirt hem to signal her to stop. This was embarrassing. I didn't think my life was like a piece of gum on someone's shoe. Caleb caught my eye as he pressed his lips together in an attempt not to laugh. Grayson fared only slightly better.
To start things off, each person will hug Nadia to help revitalize her.
My eyes widened. All these guests were going to hug me? I backed away, but Maya caught me. I didn't even know half the people here and they were going to hug me?
I'll go first,
Maya said. My eyes widened more as she latched onto me, squeezing me until I gasped from lack of air. She then released me from her mutant bear hug grip.
Remy, do you want to go next?
She asked. He looked even more uncomfortable than I felt. He inched up to me and gave me a one-arm swing around with a back pat. It was the new style of man hugs, and I was okay with it. I just hoped everyone followed his style and we could get this over with quickly. With Maya in charge of the hugging operation, she made sure everyone had their turn. It was nice when familiar faces like Roy and Gloria gave me a hug. But then there were others. The women I didn't know would hug me briefly, then roll their eyes at the attention I was receiving. The men I didn't know gave me brief, crushing hugs with some added lingering, goosing, one-liners, or phone numbers. Sergio returned to his awkward, goofy persona and beat everyone in line. He was brimming with enthusiasm for his favorite star. He had changed into a new t-shirt. It had a picture of his face and mine. A crown was superimposed onto my head, and the title read, "Our love is like a storybook story."
Nadia, my poker princess.
He squeezed me with the equal mutant bear strength of Maya.
I will always be here for you.
You can lay off the dorkiness, I wheezed from his hug. And your shirt is terrible. Is that from the Princess Bride? He kissed my cheek with a knowing smile and nodded.
As you wish, my poker princess.
Muffin was next in line and gave me a man hug pat combo. I was thankful, because she truly did have mutant bear syndrome. Caleb was able to hug me halfway through. He had to swat off a woman in order to take his turn. His arms wrapped around me in a warm embrace. Some of the huggers kept a small space between us when we hugged, but he had full-body contact. It was warm, spicy, and produced countless tingles. He smiled down at me as he continued his hug.
I'm trying to rub some of my luck onto you. We could continue this hug for as long as you want. We could even try it naked. That way, more luck will rub off. And if there happened to be an activity that involved friction, I'm sure even more luck would rub off.
A playful smile danced on his lips. Wouldn't you be afraid of rubbing all your luck off on me?
I have an endless supply and I'm willing to share. We would have to do it properly, though. Say, over a weekend on a beach somewhere.
He grinned.
Unless you take me up on my new wager, in which case we'd have a whole year to devote to making you lucky. Have you decided if you're going to brave it yet?
Maya nudged Caleb to move on.
We have a lot more hugging to do. You can get your weekend with her later.
My eyebrows flew up. Maya shrugged.
Everyone knows.
Caleb grinned and kissed my cheek.
I'll hug you later.
I nodded as Maya lined up the next victim. This was going to be a long night. I was waiting for Grayson's hug so I could scold him for standing me up at lunch, and then be happy in his arms. It turned out I had to wait until the very end. He was the last person in a long, tedious line of huggers. Every time I had a moment to look away, my eyes found him. He was always surrounded by women far prettier than I could hope to be. And to make matters worse, he could snatch them up in an instant. They were panting over him. It was so painfully obvious to anyone who stopped and observed. One woman in particular leaned way too close to Grayson and would constantly touch his arm. I couldn't see her entirely from where I was standing, but I could make out her strawberry blonde hair and blue dress. Maybe Maya was right. We want what others want. I was nearing the end of the hugging line when Maya tugged on Grayson's arm to signal it was his turn. He nodded and made his way over. I was frozen in an embrace with a man I didn't know. His hands slipped lower and lower.
May I cut in?
Grayson asked. The man seemed a little disappointed for being cut short, but mumbled and moved away. Grayson took his place. I hoped he would continue the hand path the other man began. Grayson wrapped his arms around me and gazed down. I loved losing myself in his steel-gray eyes. They had such strength and hardness, but they could change. I'd never want to see them angry and cold. That would scare me. When they were heated, they looked like hot fluid metal that could melt me to my spot.
How's the hugging coming along?
He asked with a smirk. Better now.
I'm glad Maya made me wait. I don't like being last, but now there's no one to cut in.
Yes, but I'm afraid she has more up her sleeve.
I'm sure she does. She and Frankie have been brainstorming for this party. Between the two of them, you can be sure there's something else planned.
I shook my head. It's better not to know their plan. I'd rather be shocked in the moment than to be shocked now and have to wait for it to happen.
Very wise.
You stood me up today.
What do you mean?
You said you were coming back to the casino for lunch. Grayson's mouth opened. His thoughts were lost for a moment.
Nadia, I'm so sorry. I was in a meeting and there were so many distractions I completely forgot. Will you forgive me?
I nodded. I forgave him the moment I realized he'd stood me up. It wasn't a pre-planned lunch, and we weren't supposed to see each other for 6 months. So to even talk and hug him was more than I had asked for. How could I be mad? I caught him inspecting my face. What's wrong? I asked.
You looked a little disheveled when you arrived. I was wondering if you're okay.
It's a long story, I said. I wanted to tell him what happened, but right now I just wanted him to hug me. And I needed time to reflect. Pieces of my memory were slipping away as if things had happened years ago and time was fading memories.
What's with Sergio? He seems like a love-struck fan most of the time, and then he tells me the party needs to be moved because of Dagor. Is Dagor back in town? I wasn't sure if I believed Sergio, but I didn't want to take a chance either.
I nodded. He's back in town. You can believe Sergio. He's only trying to help. At least I think he is.
Have you seen him? Has he threatened you?
Grayson's hands slipped. His face drew serious. Do I tell him now and possibly ruin the party? I wasn't sure what Grayson's reaction would be. I didn't want to take the chance of him canceling the party for something that couldn't be changed. I've seen him, and I'm fine. I'll tell you everything after the party. I could tell from the way Grayson shifted in my arms that he was not happy with my answer.
I have to leave in a few minutes. Tell me now so I know if I have to worry. What am I saying? I'm going to be worried either way, but I need to know.
I said I'd tell you after the party. Do you want me to stop by the casino tomorrow? I have to play the tables, so it won't be a problem.
Has he threatened you?
Grayson's eyes narrowed. His questions were wearing on me. I was tired, beaten, and I just wanted the party to end so I could go home and be alone. Snuggling with a quiet Grayson would be acceptable too. That scenario wasn't playing out too well. Grayson, I'll explain everything to you later. I don't want to get into it right now. His jaw muscles twitched. I could see he wasn't willing to let the subject drop. I let my arms drop in defeat. He followed suit but grasped at my hand. I winced at his touch.
What?
He asked, lifting my hand.
What happened to your hands? And your wrists?
Please, I don't want to talk about it. I can't even form the words. Can I tell you tomorrow? He glared at me.
Will you be safe until tomorrow?
Yes, but can you reserve a room for Maya at the hotel? Dagor knows where she lives and has abducted her before. I don't want to have to worry.
Where are you staying?
I hadn't thought about that. I guess my place wouldn't be safe. I bit my lip, thinking of an answer. The strawberry blonde gazelle approached us.
Grayson, it's time to leave if we want to stay on deadline.
She said in a sweet tone. But I had the suspicion it was fake from the way her eyes cut through me. Something about her made me instantly dislike her. I didn't know if it was my jealousy of her perfect hair, her long eyelashes, or maybe it was her pouty lips and almond-shaped eyes. But one thing for sure, I could sense her mutual dislike for me rolling off her in waves. As she touched his arm again, I resisted the urge to slap it away. Grayson glanced at her.
Okay, I'll be there in a moment. Find Remy and wait by the door.
She smiled at him, shot me a cutting glance, and turned to find Remy. Who's she? I asked.
My new assistant director, Fiona Watkins. I hired her today and she insisted on starting immediately. I agreed since I need the help. I've been briefing her all day. Listen, I do need to leave, but call if you need anything. I expect to see you in the casino tomorrow.
I nodded. He cupped the back of my neck, bringing his lips to my forehead. It was warm and tender. His fingertips touched mine as he turned to leave. Fiona was smiling and waiting for him at the door. As they strolled out, she turned her head to give me a slick grin, tucking her arm in his. So he'd briefed her all day, I mused, and completely forgot about lunch. I hadn't been angry about the forgotten lunch, but now I was bristling. What was as clear as glass? Fiona wanted Grayson, and I was in her way.